From any angle, the powerful lines of the B-52 show built-in skill and ingenuity. Millions of man-hours and billions of your dollars have been invested to bring you the Stratofortress. It is incumbent upon you, as an experienced pilot, to keep your investments safe. Safe for yourself and for those who fly with you. A landing like this one will add to your account, especially in the Office of Flying Safety. Here is the Director of Flying Safety. He had this film training aid prepared to help you analyze your landing technique. In the film, you will see the correct landing procedures, and then some that are not so correct. First, let's take a look at the aircraft itself. The B-52 was made to your specifications. It has stability and controllability. It has power and response. It has the strategic advantage of your experience and your hands to guide it to the target and back to a safe landing. But let's analyze all the factors that make a landing safe. For instance, the before landing checklist. Item 1, compute gross weight, center of gravity, and best flare speed with air brakes position 2. Enter the computations from the dash 1 on the landing data card. Continue down the list and check each item carefully, one by one. Stay with the checklist all the way. It's the best insurance you have. Drop the gear before penetration. Although you receive a verbal report from the radar observer and the tail gunner, check the gear down indicators. The next item, air brakes. Set them to position 2. This setting will afford you a reasonable glide angle and a comfortable approach attitude. The air brakes are an additional safety factor. With practice, you can use them to vary the approach and landing pattern, to steepen the final approach, or to reduce airspeeds rapidly. Begin the descent by retarding throttles to idle. Keep the flaps retracted until completion of the penetration. Upon leveling off, you will normally be on final approach. Flaps down. Adhere to the flap placard speed for half and full flap extension. Maintain best flare speed plus 30 knots. The flaps are another safety factor. Sweep back of the wing increases the critical Mach number, but gives undesirable characteristics under low landing speed conditions. These Fowler-type flaps compensate for loss of lift by actually increasing the wing area. Decrease airspeed to 10 knots above best flare speed for air brakes position 2. Check and set the crosswind control knob after receiving an accurate runway wind from the tower. The crosswind crab position indicator should be zeroed unless crosswind crab is necessary. Continue normal approach. Descend at the rate of approximately 500 to 600 feet per minute. Check airspeed at 10 knots above best flare speed for air brakes position 2. Maintain this speed until over the end of the runway. Then start the flare out. Apply nose-up stabilizer trim to reduce the back pressure necessary to accomplish the flare. Simultaneously, retard the throttle to idle. This will establish the best flare speed and the proper attitude for touchdown. Maintain this attitude until touchdown is accomplished. When firmly on the runway, extend the air brakes to position 6. Deploy the drag chute immediately. Do this as soon as possible after touchdown to realize maximum braking action from the drag chute. Apply wheel brakes when airspeed decreases to 70 knots. When sufficiently slowed, place the steering ratio selector lever to the taxi position. At the end of the roll, clear the active runway. Complete the after-landing checks on the taxi strip. Make full use of the after-landing checklist. Some of the scenes you are about to see could have been improved if more attention had been given to step-by-step procedures. This pilot's approach is too high. It may be due to carrying excess power, or he may not have descended at the proper rate of 500 to 600 feet per minute. A high approach can also be caused by a final turn too close in. But flying safety is interested in both cause and effect. The effect of an approach that is too high is evident. The pilot must dive for the runway at the last part of the approach. This causes difficulty and impedes good judgment during the roundout. It may result in an accelerated stall and a hard landing. A low approach is the most dangerous error a pilot can make. On strange field landings, there may be power lines or other obstacles in his flight path. The low approach may be caused by a final turn too far out or at too low an altitude. It can also be caused by too low a power setting that results in too high a rate of descent. Whatever the cause, avoid it. It's dangerous. You may land short and wash out the gear. As you see here, you must drag it in, and the roundout is difficult. Due to the added power and flat approach, the aircraft will decelerate slower and touch down further from the end of the runway. The total result is highly unsatisfactory. Excessive control movement on the B-52 causes excessive wallowing. The spoilers then act as air brakes and cause the affected wing to dip. Watch this result of overcontrolling. There will be a wing-low landing with the possibility of wing or gear damage on the low side. This approach and landing demonstrate several improper techniques. Watch for them. See if you can pick them out. Here is another example of an uncontrolled landing. To avoid over-controlling, move the wheel smoothly in smaller increments. Remember that the spoilers are already at position 2. Control response will be very effective in this configuration. Improper roundouts are due to improper approaches. Your judgment is jeopardized at the critical point of the landing. This nose gear first landing results in porpoising and possible serious structural damage. Hold constant controlled back pressure for proper recovery. Applying forward control pressure will only aggravate this situation. On the other hand, an excessive nose-high attitude can also mean a hard landing. A rear gear first landing is desirable, but the nose should not be too high. A round out from this attitude can damage the forward gear due to the location of the center of gravity. This is much better. The pilot maintains his landing attitude and retains full control of the aircraft all the way. There is an important point to remember in the roundout. Pilots will often unconsciously roll in left aileron when they apply back pressure. In the co-pilot seat, the opposite is true. Right aileron is accidentally applied. This is usually due to under-trimming. The arm rolls inward to obtain greater leverage. Avoid this error by applying pressure in a straight line. Here is an example of bad practice. After a good approach, this pilot applied air brakes during a bounce. And he was late releasing his drag chute. Let's review the proper procedure. Apply the air brakes as soon as the touchdown is positive. Deploy the drag chute immediately. It takes 4 seconds to deploy when released, so don't delay as this pilot is doing. Deploy it as soon as possible after touchdown. That is the way that flying safety says to do it, and that is the right way. Landings are what you make them. To make them better, review this film and apply what you learn to your everyday flying practice.